What's up, YouTube? Check this thing out. It all started when someone asked if I knew anybody that could make a custom exhaust. After looking at it, asking a few questions, we decided to take it on and help them out. Naturally, my first question is, what is this thing? And how on earth is this street legal? And the reply was simple. This is as much of a race car as the minimum street legal requirements allow. Listen to this thing. We did that. Let's save the full walk around for another day. We'll briefly talk about the car, and then we'll talk about the exhaust, how we made it, what we learned. Let's get into it. Let's not pretend like I'm going to do this thing justice, but if you go to the Radical Motorsports website and find the RXC section, we can find out a little bit more about it. This thing is so cool. Just a straight race car. They've got a bunch of stats on their website, lap times, all that. The thing that stands out to me, 1,100 kilograms, something like 2,500 pounds. And depending on what you get, somewhere between 500 and 700 horsepower. So that power to weight ratio coupled with the sequential transmission, and you're just banging gears, this thing is insane. But not only that, top of the line racing components, and check out this interior. Alcantara, fully built out. It's like the best of both worlds. I can't believe it. This thing is so cool. Carbon Kevlar body, linked suspension, all the stuff to make it street legal. And in theory, you can go out and buy one of these today. And after a little paperwork, once it ships, you could drive it to the track on the road where you'll be competitive in an insanely fast race car. You can tell just by looking at this car that it's cool, but look at the attention it gets at Highline Auto Cars and Coffee. Right next to Porsches, Lamborghinis, Ferraris. 10 cars down, Barrett Jackson brought Ken Block's Huna truck. Look at all the people looking at this thing. One of the coolest things is watching everybody divert their eyes from the Huna truck to see this group of friends coming, for them to pick up their phone and start filming as they were leaving. Huge shout out to the owner, not only for the opportunity to work on such an awesome project, but also to be able to share it with all of you. And with that, let's rewind and look in detail of our fab process. First thing I want to do is get eyes on it. What does it look like under the hood? Where does everything lay? What do we need to work around? What are our constraints? What might be broke that we can improve during the process? How does the body lay? What's gonna melt if it gets too close? And then when I'm in there, I really want to be looking close at what are the body details? What do the gussets look like? Is it tube and plate? Are there dimple dies? Where? Are they descending in size? Are they all the same size? Is it fully welded? Is it stitch welded? And then obviously take a bunch of pictures, get some measurements, check out your clearances. Our goal is to gather as much information as possible. So here we have the factory exhaust and another aftermarket exhaust that we could use to build our fixtures.
Input. All right, you got it. Okay.
Input. More input.
Okay, no problem.
All right, we're overcoming barriers one at a time. We got the fixture pretty much done. So you can see that this just locates the tips and gives us something to measure off of when we put the new tips on. These end caps unbolt and slide out, and then this here is to locate these tabs to mount to the frame. These you could get from like this particular one's from ThorLabs, but these are really for like CMM fixture plates, and so they're perfect scale for this. This is like 1 inch on center, 1/4 20, and then I make these, you know, I just take a couple minutes to lay out a bunch of holes on steel, and then I'll cut this up to basically weld my fixture points to, and then that's reproducible. You know, the ones that are actually for CMMs are even labeled like A1, A2, right? Like big spreadsheet, and you can take notes. And then another thing I like to do is, once I lay it all out, I center punch them all, even though I don't need that particular hole, because later it's just easier, even by hand, to just drill that, punch one out. So on these cars, it's not really common, but because there's no back pressure here, there's no clamps or anything. It's like a two-stroke dirt bike. There's just these springs here. And which means these slip joints have to be a pretty tight tolerance. Nobody really sells actual single slip joint. They're like a double slip joint, an outer and then an inner sleeve, and then the pipe that slides in goes in between the two to kind of capture those gases. But they expanded this piece in a die and then welded it to the muffler. But if we just do straight pipe coming through, like, you know, why do that weld? So the only thing I can think of to do is get a die. But there's no way, you know, when they mandrel bend these, get that to focus, you could see these jaw marks on here. And so this thing, like a big hand comes and grabs this and pulls this through. So unless you got something like that with the die, you're not gonna expand this. And again, like I said, this is such an uncommon thing that I really couldn't find anything. You can buy these pipe expanders from an auto parts store or whatever, but I even went online, like, how are you supposed to use this piece of shit? It takes so much pressure to expand. This is 063 stainless, so it's probably way above its capacity. But how are you gonna hold all this? Like, how are you gonna hold your bend and all that stuff? So I welded this piece of square stock on here, and it really needs to be encapsulated so you could really bite down on it with the vise. But another thing obviously is grease. Like, if you've ever used a spring compressor or anything, you know that grease is your friend. And then luckily this is long enough, and this 3/4 socket actually fits in this jaw, so it kind of helps brace everything. So what this is a sleeve, so that I could put this inch on there and not sort of, all these are going to do is just go like this, and you're going to get a cone and not a nice clean bend. So I cut this sleeve that'll cover the back half, and then I can expand that 1 inch on here to just give me my inch with a nice straight linear slip fit. All right, YouTube, we're struggling through more learning. I took a bunch of pictures, but check this bitch out. What? All welded up, polished. Here's our expanded piece into the 90 cut, 20-degree angle. These tips up to here were purchased, and it was very difficult not to try and scratch all this up. None of this is gonna last. It gets way too hot, it's just gonna blow out. But another thing to touch on is our back purge setup. All these welds are back purged, and as you can see, they look good inside and out. Yeah, so we're making progress. So we got to make a couple gussets here, and then obviously the brackets to hold it on. But yeah, it's coming along good. It was a bitch, but here we are. There it is. Check this thing out. Done. Still have to weld on the spring mounts, but all of the brackets are on, mounting points, gussets. They're all on. It is ready to go. It's in the fixture. Tips are all in a line. So you can just hear it in my voice how tired I am, so I'll spare you the misery. Box it up, get it on the car. This is my favorite right here. Customer appreciation. So stoked. It looks so good on the car. Get it on, get it to the show. Look at that thing. Let's hear it one more time before I leave you. We'll see you on the next. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace out.